while I can sit here and tell you so much about training and nutrition, I want to spend more time diving deeper into the psychology, your mindset, because that is honestly the ultimate reason, probably why you're here, but also probably why you're in the position that you're in. And too often people will talk about training, they'll talk about, their nutrition, and they'll say like it's easy, and it's not easy. The reason why it's not easy is because there's so many behaviors and patterns and so much psychology surrounding it that no one wants to touch it. And the reason why no one wants to touch it is because it is difficult. You need to be asked some really hard questions. And I want to spend today kind of like diving deeper into this. So this might feel a little uncomfortable, but I want to dive deeper into the discomfort so that hopefully by the end of listening to this, you can truly make a change and you can feel like there's hope. And that's honestly the best thing that you can feel. When you feel like there is hope, you can then feel like there is change that is possible for you. And that's honestly one thing that I think many people are missing. They're missing the hope and the belief that it is possible. And so when we think back about my story, for those of you who have listened to me for a long time, or even if you're new, it doesn't matter. I've come from so many different areas, and a lot of what I have experienced personally has helped shape me. It's helped me build the character that I have. And character is always built. It is not something that you're just born with. You have to create it. You have to build it. And the character that you have is going to be influenced by people, by situations, by experiences, by what you're around, what you're not around. All of this is creating the character that you have. And the good thing is that you can always build a better character. You can also completely destroy your character at the same time. So you really get to decide. Now, when we think back about where I started and how I started, I was very young when I got into fitness and nutrition. I was 17 years old, and I knew that if I wanted to enhance myself, I couldn't just train as much as possible and then just try to think like my nutrition didn't matter or my sleep didn't matter or how I thought and what I did with my time didn't matter. I knew that there was elements missing, and I knew that I had to get some help. So I did. Now, sometimes you got to get the wrong help, and that is okay. That's exactly what happened to me. I went to someone, they kind of ruined my body for a good amount of time because they didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't understand me. They didn't understand my sport. They didn't understand what I needed. And what helped with that is that I then knew what didn't work. So sometimes we learn a lot from failing as we do from succeeding. You probably will even learn way more by failing. So let yourself fail. Let yourself go down a path where maybe someone did disappoint you. Maybe someone didn't give you the right path, because what they're doing is they're teaching you what doesn't work. And if there was like books on how to not be successful, you would probably learn so much more than the books that say how to be successful. And it doesn't matter which route you're taking with this. And so once I figured that out, I knew I needed to really kind of dive deeper into this. So I kind of sought out more professionals, like people that truly knew what they were talking about. And I see a lot of fakes out there. Like I see a lot of people that truly have no fucking clue. And they pretend like they have a clue because they built somewhat of a body or they built somewhat of a reputation. But honestly, they have no clue. And that's why you've got to be careful who you listen to. Whether it is in regards to your fitness, your nutrition, your mindset, your finances, your career path, be mindful who you're listening to and understand that you need to have some social proof from these people that isn't just like a screenshot. It's really like you have to make sure you're verifying what it is that they're saying that they can do. And you will know, you'll just know. You're going to kind of get that gut instinct, because that's what happened to me. At the start, I had no clue, super ignorant, trusted someone, and then I developed that instinct that I was like, okay, I know who I need to work with. I didn't know they had all of the proof and all of the evidence, but the way they presented it to me made sense. And when it makes sense, it aligns really well. After I found my dietitian, after I found my speed coach, after I found my strength and conditioning coach, after I found my mindset coach, I started to understand what it is truly all about. And that's why I'm sitting here trying to help you understand that you got to go sometimes wrong and learn from these mistakes, learn from these obstacles. And when you go right, you can always use that as a backbone. That's where you tap into that area. And so if you're stuck today, If you're truly stuck to change your way of thinking, that is where you need to start. Now, I did seek out, the best in the field, but I was willing. I was so damn willing to change everything about myself that I didn't care what it cost. I didn't care what it took. I did it. But it's because it was important to me. It might not be important to you. That's just how it is. That's the reality we face. Or maybe you just can't make that sacrifice just yet, or that compromise isn't quite the right timing. It doesn't matter. The point is that at the end of the day, you will know if it's right or if it's wrong, if you sit with it, if you think on it, and then you act upon it. And sometimes, at the end of the day, no action is the same as taking an action. You're just not acting, right? So once I had really dialed in all these things, I had not really fully understood the value of psychology until I went and studied it, until I really went and actually experienced it, until I started working with the right people on it. And once I did that, I understood the value of how that correlated to nutrition. This is why people go through so much heavy shit when it comes to nutrition, whether it's binge eating, emotional eating, stress eating, it doesn't matter what it is. What you will find is that when you are experiencing all of the emotional stuff that goes on for you, you're going to help yourself through it by understanding it, because awareness breeds change. So once you're aware of something and you understand it, you can change how it affects you. If you're someone that is like truly always kind of like stress eating or emotionally eating, or maybe you find yourself that you're emotional not eating, whatever the case is for you, you need to understand it. And that's where the mindset component comes in. The mindset is so incredibly important. Like, it really is basically, what set is your mind in? In other words, is it negative? Is it positive? Is your mindset in a place where you can act accordingly? And is the action going to align with the brain activity, the thought processes, the patterns that are going on? These are so critical. So, and you're developing these, right? Like, you're firing these neurons in your brain on a constant basis. And sometimes they're negative. Sometimes they are so negative that they have actually become automatic. Like, as soon as something kind of triggers you or reminds you or even kind of traumatizes you just that little bit, you know what happens? Your brain automatically just sends the signals, and they will do it on their own unless you change it. And how you change it is you have to rewire them, right? So think about it like this. If a neuron, something in your brain is firing to another neuron and it's consistent, it knows how to do it automatically without you having to try. So you're going to have to rewire it and refire it and make it different. So if you're always negative about something, if you're always negative towards food, right, you have to change that. You have to start being a bit more positive towards food. Your thought process about eating needs to change. Your thought process about training needs to change. Everything just needs to change. That is not going to be easy for you, but what it will do is, over the course of time, just like anything else, you start to develop the memory. And the cool part about this is, just like when you first started to learn how to exercise, it was hard at the start, then it became easier. Then it became like, oh, I know what I'm doing here. I could do this with my eyes closed. I could do this with, easily, no issues, no effort required. And the effort that's required is always when you're kind of tapping into the next level. The version of yourself that you have not met, the version of yourself that you want to get to, but you don't even really know what that is. That is where you're going to have to put more thought into it. And so I share this because for a really long time, I wasn't very, let's say, awake. I wasn't very conscious to life. I grinded my way through, right? Just constantly kept showing up, and I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really fulfilled with where I was. And that's because my brain and body were in two different places. My mind was somewhere, but my body was somewhere else. They were never truly connected. And only when I truly connected them, like people talk about mind, body, spirit, everything, when you actually get that full alignment, you become so grounded, so centered, so clear on yourself that, oh my gosh, you can make like epic shit happen. The only way you're going to get there is if you start to actually connect with yourself, align with yourself, and get yourself into a better position. And I share this because you need more mindset work. Everybody needs more mindset work. Yes, you need better nutrition, and yes, you need better training, and yes, you need all those protocols, right? But those are easy. Let's be real. Training is easy. Getting your nutrition, yeah, a little hard. Mindset, so fucking hard. But if you can get it dialed in, and if you can get it in the right position, you will not have any issues whatsoever to actually get yourself in the right place at the right time, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. All of these will perfectly align for you, but you got to kind of work hard on it. And it takes time. So think about how long you probably set yourself up in one place. Whether it is you were constantly doing the same habits that were negative, right? What's going to be different is you got to break those habits. To break habits, you can't just say, well, I'm going to stop doing that. It doesn't work that way. They need to be replaced. Habits need to be replaced, especially if they were really ingrained and especially if they were negative. If you constantly snooze and you constantly kind of like stop yourself from doing something, you're going to have to really break free from that. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you actually start to rewire those neurons that I was talking about. And what's cool about this is that once you rewire these neurons, they start to become so automatic and so easy for you that you really no longer have an issue with them. Like they're so easy for you that they become part of you. And then it goes back to that character building that we're talking about. So you can think of, if you've been someone that's been following me for a long time, you might think, well, I'm very resilient and I'm very strong and I'm very confident. Whatever it is that you think of me, your perception. The reason why you create that perception is because I'm probably displaying some of those characteristics, right? I look fit, so therefore I'm pretty disciplined. I look like I take care of myself, so I have some self-control and I have self-care. Those are part of the characteristics that I hold. Now, you can develop that. If I can develop it, I'm no different to anyone else out there. Now, yes, it did take some time, but it was worth it in the end. Everything was worth it in the end. All of the things that I did was worthwhile for me, just as it can be for you. Now, it's just going to take time and effort and honestly a bit of patience, but the more that you provide that, the better it's going to be and the less fear that you give to it. You got to be less fearful. So many people are just scared of life. They're scared of living almost, but yet what other option is there? So start to be very real with yourself. If you truly want change, you got to start thinking more about faith. Start thinking more about belief. Start thinking more about hope. Start giving yourself the actual chance for you to get to where you want to go. Start doing that and stop letting fear dictate everything because everyone's just so fearful. And if you were to just remove that fear, if you were to kill it with everything you got and start pouring yourself into the process, you would get where you want to go, right? You got to follow the damn process. You've got to follow the journey and you've got to just walk the path every day and do it regardless of what gets in your way. And as you do this, you're going to develop a much better sense of self. So ask yourself, who is it that you want to be? Who's it going to be? How's it going to be? What are you going to do? Once you do that and you decide, then everything will get out of your way and you will be able to do everything that you want. You will be able to become who it is that you want to be, that highest self, that best version of you, that person that you've probably been thinking about, but you kind of just stay away from it because that person is probably someone that you truly just don't even know. You have doubts, you have concerns, if you could even reach it. But I'm here to tell you that it's possible because if I could become something that holds some really good positive characteristics, then you could do the same. I'm no different from anyone else out there. Anyone that's at the top, anyone that's successful, anyone that you look up to, anyone that inspires you is no different to you. They just have a different mindset. That is the reality. And what they're doing is they're looking at their obstacles and they're not letting their obstacles beat them. They're looking at all of the downfalls in their life and they're not letting that dictate their future. What they're doing is they're going, I believe that this is possible. I believe that I can overcome this setback, right? They believe in it. They understand that it's there for a reason and it's there for a short amount of time because it's going to pass. All they have to do is have some faith, have some belief that there is something bigger and better on the other side for them, just like it is for you. So every single thing that you want is on the other side of fear. So make a move, take action, because you're one decision away from a completely different life.